In the third and final act of our demo scenario, I'll show you how OpenText content management technology can keep your information safe and secure. Around the world, banks are facing growing challenges with increased regulations such as Dodd-Frank, Basel III, FACTA, and so on. Many are from regulators that didn't exist 2 years ago. The entire financial services industry is under tremendous pressure to implement greater rigor and disciplined information governance. Over 2 decades, OpenText has been helping financial services companies to manage and archive corporate records to meet the needs of industry regulators. And in our demo scenario, we're going to talk about anti-money laundering regulations, but the basic information governance principles that we'll show you could be equally well applied to any compliance requirement. As you know, money laundering is the process where the proceeds of a crime are transferred into legitimate money or other assets. The process usually involves introducing cash into the financial system by some means, followed by some complex financial transactions to camouflage the legal source. Regulators have introduced controls that require financial institutions and other regulated entities to prevent, detect, and report money laundering activities. Anti-money laundering compliance requires financial institutions to execute solid information governance policies and to ensure transparent record keeping about the opening of new accounts. In our demo scenario, Innovate uses OpenText records management to classify all of their business records to support investigations of this nature and as part of a defensible disposition policy. So let's imagine that the bank is contacted about a legal investigation into the affairs of a group of investors, the appropriately named ODS. ODS is suspected to be involved in money laundering, and the bank is asked to surrender information relating to their dealings with ODS to the legal team conducting the investigation. So let me show you how staff at Innovate use OpenText ECM to capture and classify content related to the legal case. A new folder has been created by one of Innovate's legal team to capture data relating to the investigation. The folder is based on a template which is comprised of required metadata and subfolders for content. Okay, now let's switch our attention to Microsoft Outlook. Our user has received a number of emails relating to the investigation. It's a snap to add these emails to the content repository. All he has to do is access the content repository folders directly from within Outlook, and then drag and drop the emails over the appropriate folder. The metadata is inherited automatically by the parent folder in the investigation, including things like inherited classifications for record management. So when the emails are moved into the secure content repository, they're automatically tagged for records keeping, but you can still access them from the Outlook interface. But back in the web user interface, the Records Manager can access the information using faster browsing. And this allows me to filter information based on things like its file number. The file number we have associated with this case is CFP58. Filtering the content related to the case brings up all the related content, including those emails that we uploaded a few seconds ago. Innovate's compliance officer first creates a legal hold to preserve all information that might relate to the case, to prevent any accidental or deliberate attempts to delete information pending the investigation. To create the hold, she simply chooses to add a new hold item to Content Server, and then completes the required fields in the form. She enters a name for the hold, a date when the hold will be applied and when it will be suspended, the type of hold, and a description. And when all the required fields have been completed, she simply clicks Add. Next, she'll need to identify the records that will be held and provided for the money laundering investigation. Let me show you how she sets up a search-enabled hold to find and hold the appropriate company records. From the function menu, she chooses the option to select the hold criteria. And from here, she sets up the search query for the hold. The query may include full-text search, system-defined or custom metadata, or classification fields, but in our case, it's just a simple list of required keywords. And now we can see all the records relating to the AML investigation, including account transactions, statements, and related forms. So having found all the records related to the case, Innovate's compliance officer can now prepare to export the content as evidence to support the investigation. All of Innovate's business information is securely retained within the OpenText Enterprise Archive, where it is deduplicated, compressed, and stored according to Innovate's retention policies. Innovate's IT department has configured OpenText Content Server to automatically archive content from the repository. And as part of the setup process, the system administrator defines a number of different storage providers, including fast data storage for rapid access to content and less expensive tape backup for content that's only needed once in a while. He then goes on to define the rules that will determine where each type of content is stored. So what you saw in this third and final information flow was how Innovate captured important business records, how they used auto-classification to prepare records for archiving and disposition. You saw how a compliance officer could use the system to discover and hold records relating to an anti-money laundering investigation. And finally, how Innovate could use OpenText archiving technology for cost-effective and long-term storage of their records.